Hello everyone and welcome to this week of First and 10. I'm your host Jason Hack. I'm joined as always by my tag team partner Matt Etchier. And Matt, it was a very exciting week for us in terms of OUA football, with us covering both Guelph and Laurier, as both teams, they played road games, but they came out with the victory.
Yeah, both of them ended up winning this week, which is always nice when you're a fan of either Laurier or Guelph. Great football weather though this weekend, Jason, on Saturday afternoon, of course, Guelph was in Toronto, and sun was out, maybe a little chilly for some people, but if you're playing football, you gotta love it. Saturday night, of course, the Battle of Waterloo, a little colder, but at least it wasn't raining, right?
Exactly, it wasn't raining, but you know what? It may have been a little cold, but the action on the field for both games was hot, so that's a big thing for both fans and both teams. Speaking of both teams, we'll start with Guelph here. As you said, they went on the road. It was their first game since their Week 2 win against the Windsor Lancers in dramatic fashion. So, you're always wondering how's Guelph going to do coming off of a bye, because byes can be both good or bad things. And for Guelph, well, they totally passed the test. Absolutely a phenomenal performance from them, not only offensively, but especially defensively. When you take a look at their defense, they had a total of 4 picks, 5 sacks, and 2 fumble recoveries. You can't ask for much more from your defense.
Oh, God, I don't know if you could. No way. Guelph went in there. We were saying U of T and Guelph seem to always have close matchups in the recent past. Well, Guelph said, let's forget about that. Just kept their foot on the gas pedal and just rammed right through them for a 38-12 victory. Jazz Lindsay threw 2 touchdown passes to brother Saxon, as well as Augustine had a rushing touchdown, and Jazz also threw 2 other touchdowns to non-Saxons.
Yeah, well, both Lindsay brothers were able to show some brotherly love and make Toronto sing the varsity blues. See what I did there? As you know, Saxon had a huge game in his own right. He had 9 catches for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and 2 phenomenal touchdowns, by the way, I have to say. So, the Lindsay brothers are on page is a big thing. Dylan Dimitrov as well has been another key receiver here for Jazz Lindsay. So the Guelph Griffins, their offense, that looked a little, stutter some come toward the end of that Windsor game. They were able to get things going for that game-winning drive, and then here against Toronto, just a fantastic performance, and they look geared up for next week.
Yeah, and you mentioned their defense a little earlier there. Just want to give a shout out to Ian Maroof. 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. Dominant day from him for sure, and they're going to be looking for that type of performance moving forward, I think.
And you know what? This Guelph defense is a defense that we keep glorifying, and you know what? For such reasons is they're playing the ultimate style game, basically forcing teams to make bad decisions, and helps that offense get great field position and convert the great field position into points, and that's exactly what Guelph does, and they got a big one coming up this week. Speaking of the other team we're talking about here, the Laurier Golden Hawks went on the road, Battle of Waterloo, 2 in-city rivals, teams that don't like each other. Waterloo having a better record for the first time in so long, Matt. And guess what? The Laurier Golden Hawks, they came in, they were prepared, they were ready, and they got the big victory.
Oh, did they ever. Battle of Waterloo, you always got to be excited about this. It was great atmosphere. A lot of people came out. Their grandstands were jam-packed. They had people in behind on the hill there. Kind of a fun place to go and watch, But yeah, and as dramatic as the Battle of Waterloo is, it had a little drama beforehand as James Fracas got the start at quarterback for Laurier. But he wasn't necessarily the difference maker in this one, as Dylan Campbell and the Laurier rushing offense came out hard. Dylan Campbell, he started things off with a touchdown, and then they just kept on running. Fracas ran for a touchdown as well in the first half, and going into the change room, it was 21-3. Coming out in the second half, Laurier did not let up. I'm sure there was a lot of doubts in minds of people. because of what happened at York when second half performance not so good. They did not let that happen. They kept going. Campbell got another touchdown. Laurier's defense was all over the field creating turnovers, and they ended up with a 41-10 final against Waterloo. Tremendous game, and as big focus was played all 4 quarters, Laurier did.
You know what, that's something they haven't been able to do. They didn't able to play 2 quarters, whether it be second half or first half. They would have put 4 quarters together here, which was huge. As you said, Dylan Campbell had a strong game, you know, with basically 104 yards rushing at the end of the first half, so he was definitely marching all over the Waterloo Warriors. And the big thing here that was, you know, some people were questioning was the change at quarterback, because Julian John had shown signs of brightness going into both of his previous starts, but he got the pull for more so a strong performance against the York Lions. They went with Fracas, kind of a veteran leader style quarterback that the Golden Hawks have, and he went in there and played aces, was able to manage the game well, you know, make smart decisions with the football, and you know, him getting the start, we did speak to him after the game, so here's James Fracas and Coach Falls talking about Fracas' start.
Well, it's always nice, you know, but it's a lot of people around me, you know, my offensive line, they really help me out in practice, you know, like they make me look good, also my receivers, you know, so it is nice to get that start, but it's definitely a team effort.
Fracas has worked hard, and it really came down to 2 individuals who are really close in ability with Julian and James, and Julian did a little better in the training camp, so we went with him. And I was proud of James. He took it really well, and I told him, you never know when your time is going to be called, and he said, Coach, I'm going to be ready. So this week his name was called, and he did phenomenal. James he's a gamer, right? So it doesn't always look pretty in practice, but out in the game, he's a competitor. He's got that, you know, through his family history, and he did a phenomenal job.
So that was James Fracas talking about his start along with Coach Falls, and you can just tell that there's this all-new energy with this new quarterback here at the helm, and that, you know, it's a change for the better for the Golden Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little skeptical when I heard about it. As you know, I really liked what Julian John had been able to do, especially in that start against U of T. Now, of course, he made a few mistakes, some ill-advised passes against York that really were at some ill-timed spots in the game, so that may be partially why they went with Fracas, but Fracas stepped up. He had a pretty good game there. He went 15 for 26, 170 yards. He did have an interception, but he also had a rushing touchdown. The only thing I gotta say is a few of the deep balls he threw did kind of flutter a bit. I didn't think they had a lot of zip on them, but I mean, that's just something you can look to improve there. We'll see if they go with Fracas moving forward.
Well, I think they will. You got to win with him at the helm. You don't want to mess anything up. You seem to have got a nice combination with Fracas being your quarterback and Dylan Campbell in the backfield. Yeah. And with Campbell's running skills, it's been able to open the likes for, you know, Greg Nyhoff and the rest of the receiving corps. So a big win for the Golden Hawks, and more importantly, Coach Falls' first win as a Golden Hawk, and we spoke with him about that after the game.
It feels really good, more to get the monkey off my back, but it's hopefully the first of many, you know. I'm not going to think about it too much tonight. I've already broken down 3 games of Western already, so we're getting ready for them right away.
Well, there's Coach Falls talking about his win, you know, trying to hide that, you know, it wasn't that big of a deal, but you can tell it was a big deal with his first one as a head coach for the Golden Hawks.
Always is. It's got to be.
Yeah, got to be. Well, before we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have our Player of the Week. So stay with us. Welcome back to First and 10. Matt, it's our Player of the Week segment. We had a lot of top candidates to choose from, whether it be both Lindsay brothers from Guelph, just for the contributions that they put, and especially when you look at their statistics. But we're going to keep it here in the Waterloo region, and with that Battle of Waterloo, and that's Laurier Golden Hawk running back Dylan Campbell.
Dylan Campbell is our Player of the Week this week, second week in a row now, and he's just had a couple of dominant performances, and I mean, we thought he was good last week. He did better in every statistic this week than he did last week. 180 yards in the Battle of Waterloo, 2 touchdowns as we already mentioned, averaged 7.2 yards per carry. That's incredible. And now they're kind of established. He's kind of an established rusher in the OUA right now. He's 3rd in Ontario with 95.8 yards per carry, and that's actually 9th in the country. So that's pretty good.
Absolutely. I'd say it's more than pretty good to be 9th in the country for rushing. You know, Dylan Campbell, his presence in the past 2 games has just been there to give the Laurier offense a face and an identity. And that's something that they've been lacking. You could tell, you know, they were trying to make it with Julian John. And while there's still many opportunities for him to shine in an offense, especially, you know, later on in the season, having Campbell as the guy right now has been a big thing, I think, because one, you know, his stats obviously prove how good of a running back he is, but him being in there gives the quarterback an option, you know, to get his receivers open and make a play down the field. And as we know, a strong run game opens up the pass game.
That's correct. If the defenders on the opposing team has to worry about a run game, and if you can run the ball like that and very efficiently each play, it forces the defense to bring more defenders down into the box, which, as you said, it creates opportunities for bigger plays, either passing the ball or running out wide, anything like that, and it creates a whole new dynamic for your offense, and it's an awesome thing for any offensive coordinator to have.
Well, especially right now, and we actually, after the game, spoke with Dylan Campbell and Coach Faulds about Dylan's performance, so here's that.
I think I did a good job, but I owe all to my O-line. My O-line did a great job, and I got the glory, I guess.
Dylan's been our starting back the whole time. It's just in the last couple weeks we've gone to him a little more. He's a phenomenal running back. You know, he really carries the ball well, and just when you think you have him in your grasp, he seems to get free and get some positive yards out of it.
All right, so that was Coach Faulds and Dylan Campbell talking about their performance, and you could just tell, you know, the smile and the joy from Coach Faulds because of how, you know, hard Dylan's worked and really, you know, made the offense a thing that's really an exciting aspect of the offense for Laurier, not having to rely so much on the defense.
Yeah, exactly. And what we spoke about at the beginning of this season was how young especially on the offensive side of the ball, Laurier was. And Dylan Campbell, he's provided a spark over the last 2 weeks for this team. And although he is a 3rd-year participant, member of the team, this is his 1st year starting. And so a little bit of his experience is showing, but for sure, it's something that this offense will be able to lean on in the future.
And you know what? You can tell they're really leaning on it now, especially with the change at quarterback. I think that's a big thing. And Dylan Campbell is our player of the week, and he's been a thing in the Golden Hawk offense that's just been good. So Dylan Campbell, once again, our player of the week. Just moving along here to finish up the rest of week 4, Matt. The Windsor Lancers with a 44-14 victory over the Carleton Ravens. The McMaster Marauders are back in the win column with a victory over the York Lions, 41-27, and the Western Mustangs were able to circle the wagons and march all over the Ottawa GGs with an 83-27 victory.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to beat Western. They can just put up points at will.
They can put up points at will, but they may not be unstoppable. There's a team around here that's gonna, you know, try to stop the unstoppable. Quickly looking at the league standings, you know, not too much of a difference from last week, but you know, you got Western still at 1 with a 4-0 record. Guelph and Queens are tied at 2 with 3-0 records, and then you got a 3-way tie for 4th with McMaster, Ottawa, and Windsor, all with 500 records. York is alone at 7th with a 1-2 record. Laurier, Toronto, and Waterloo are all 1-3, so they're tied for 8th, and the Carleton Ravens, well, they're just flying low in 11th with an 0-3 record. But they got nice uniforms, so I mean, that's a positive for them. Quickly looking at Matt's power rankings, we got Western, Queens, Guelph, McMaster, Windsor in the top 5. Not too much of a variation here. The big surprise, though, is Laurier moving into 6th with their big win over Waterloo. You got Toronto, Ottawa, York, and Waterloo in the top to fin around the top 10, and then Carleton is still 11th. So not too much changing other than Laurier, soaring, the Golden Hawks soaring into 6th. Looking at the CIS top 10 as well, some changes actually here for those OUA squads. You had Western and Queens flipping between 3 and 2. Guelph moved up to spot from 7 to 6, and McMaster, they stayed at 9.
Yeah, and I like that Guelph's moved up here. They're an undefeated team. I think it's more so because Saskatchewan lost this week, but Guelph I think deserves to be maybe even break the top 5. They can beat McMaster.
They beat McMaster. It's something that's I think could happen. But speaking of Guelph and games and teams they're playing, we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna preview the upcoming matchups for the Griffins and the Golden Hawks, and of course our favorite segment, Quick Picks. So stay with us. Welcome back here to First and 10, and Matt, both squads we covered, Guelph and Laurier, had big wins last week. Yep. Well, guess what? They got tough tests for them this upcoming week. They're at home, both of them, but that doesn't mean that the job's going to be any easier. We're going to start with Laurier. You're coming off a win, you're in-city rival. Well, you got to get those textbooks out because this is the exam very early in the season. You're playing the Western Mustangs. I mean, that is a test that, you're going to have to pull a lot of overnighters just to try, to get a solid grade here. Western, of course, coming in with an offense that can just put up points whenever they want in a video game style, basically. And the Golden Hawks, they got a lot of momentum. Can they stop this Western offense, Matt?
Well, it's no doubt around the league that this Western team is the best team right now. They are rolling. We've seen them just, as you said, just put up points left, right, and center. But I gotta think Laurier's had this game circled on their schedule since last season, just because they were embarrassed by this rival team, Western. 56-3 last season. Now in that game, Fracas also started against Western. He went 4 for 12 and only had 72 yards. That's something I think he's going to want to fix. Now the quarterback on the other side of the ball in that game was Mr. Finch himself. 18. He went 18 for 28, 339 yards. 4 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Now Laurier defense is going to be remembering this, and they're going to be wanting to stop him.
Well, they're definitely going to want to stop him. But the one thing that I think can definitely motivate Laurier is you got to win, but it's a rival. It's your big rival here. Western, a rivalry atmosphere always creates a lot more intrigue. You've had it circled on the calendar since the season started. You got some momentum here. Fracas now, playing a team that he was able to actually throw against. While there may be some new players in there, it's basically the same style of a team that has been out there. And now they got this new identity in Dylan Campbell, so he's going to have to, be able to run like a Mustang against Western here. And I think that's something that can happen. I think there's a lot of positive vibes coming out from Laurier. But the big thing for me is Laurier's defense, which has some stars. They're going to really have to step up to slow that Western offense down.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this game's going to come down to, and they can definitely do it. As of right now, they are second best in the OUA. They've only been giving up 216 yards per game, but they've had 5 interceptions and 12 sacks over the last 4 weeks. That's incredible. If they can keep pressure on Finch and make him uncomfortable, make him beat you with his feet rather than with his arm, that's the way you got to go. That's how you got to game plan, I think, against this Western offense. And just like I said, just make him a little uncomfortable, and you got a chance.
You got a chance, especially if that happens. There's going to be some playmakers on the offense, but that defense is going to need a lot of playmakers. We're going to need to see a lot out of Felix Odom to shut down the receiving core to make sure that Finch has a tough time. And that Laurier defensive line, well, they've been really an impressive defensive line, a little underrated here in the OUA. But I think if they can, like you said, get pressure on Finch, make his life, miserable, the Laurier Golden Hawks may have a chance to soar over Western in what would be a huge upset.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned that Laurier, and we've talked about it all show, Laurier's run game right now has kind of become their identity. The last couple weeks they've been able to run the ball really well. Well, it's a little tough this week as Western's the number 2 team against the run in the OUA. They've only given up average 87 run yards per game. That's not a lot, and that's against some pretty good offenses like McMaster and those kind of, like McMaster and those kind of teams. So they have really got to come out and establish that run, and I think that if they can do that and they don't let Western push them around on offense, that'll open up a lot of stuff for practice.
Exactly, that can. And the other thing I would say for Laurier is just don't be intimidated by the points that you've seen that Western can put up. Like, yeah, they can, but if you believe you can beat the team, whatever you believe may be able to happen out there. It's a big confidence booster like that. So the Golden Hawks, while they're 1-3 and the records may seem like this makes no sense, you gotta have some faith here in the Golden Hawks. And plus, it's at home for Laurier, which can be a big thing. So hopefully a lot of the Golden Hawk fans come out and support the Laurier Golden Hawks. And the other big one for us, Matt, I mean, this one, you just get goosebumps thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's the McMaster Marauders taking on the Guelph Griffins. Guelph returns home. It's homecoming in Guelph. And it's the rematch of last year's Yates Cup. Dare I say, excitement.
Oh, you can dare to say that for sure. So exciting. This is another game that I think, as soon as the schedules came out, not just Guelph and McMaster circled it on the schedule, the whole damn league circled it on their schedule. My goodness, this is a rematch in the making. As you said, Guelph's homecoming, it's going to be nuts, full of fans, the biggest homecoming Guelph's ever seen. And of course, last year, Guelph coming off that loss in the Yates Cup, 30-13. Jazz Lindsay had 3 interceptions in that game, and I'm just thinking he's going to want to flip that around to, instead of 3 interceptions, 3 touchdowns and more.
Well, you'd hope. I mean, you definitely don't want a game plan for I'm going to throw 3 picks, and he's definitely not doing that. The one thing I was definitely impressed though with Jazz was his ability to stand in the pocket and hit receivers. That's something that he's going to need to do a lot of in this game. He's got some weapons. Obviously, his brother Saxon had a big game last week we talked about, but he's got other strong receivers. He's got Charette, Dylan Dimitrov's also been a big benefactor for him, and they're going to need a strong run game. They've had Bushkill was able to have a good game last week against Toronto, and of course our main man Johnny Augustine. Now he's just got to be able to make sure he holds on to the football. That was a bit of a problem for him against the Varsity Blues, but once that problem's figured out, we know what the kind of power and speed he can bring. And McMaster is not the same McMaster that they played last year. If you look at the record, they're 2-2. I wouldn't say the sky's falling, but it's definitely, in a bit of a decline in this, post-Quinlan year.
That's right, and the tyrant has fallen, I think, is what people would say. They are now mortal. People have seen them get beat, albeit, I agree, against 2 very good teams they lost to, but they're no longer that team that Guelph, the only team that Guelph lost to last season was to McMaster, and they're no longer that team. Guelph, a year older, they have all these experiences from all that win against Windsor a couple weeks ago. That's a huge character builder for them. That's just what I gotta go with. For defense, Guelph is the best defense in the OUA right now. They're only giving up 247 yards per game. If they can keep that up and limit this McMaster offense, they're going to be looking really good. They're
going to definitely need a lot out of that defense, which we've seen, play spectacular defense and hold teams to tight games. And if it does become a tight game, I would favor Guelph in there, because Guelph was in a lot of tight games last year. They were in a tight game against Windsor, and they just somehow know how to get the job done when it's a close, tough battle. So that should be an exciting one. And if you're in Guelph, I hope you may have one of the best homecomings in the history of the University of Guelph.
So much fun.
I would think, yeah. So please, hopefully you've got your ticket, because what are you doing if you don't? Study? Come on. But yeah, there's just 2 exciting matchups here for both squads, both Laurier and Guelph. They're tough tests, but I think both schools can pass them. And moving here to our favorite segment, Matt, Quick picks, quickly here. The Carleton Ravens at home against the York Lions.
I gotta go with the York. Carleton's gotta show me they can win.
Exactly, the Lions should roar. The Queens Gales and the Ottawa GGs.
I gotta go with Queens.
Yeah, gotta go with Queens, especially considering Ottawa just gave up the 83 against Western. And the Varsity Blues and the Lancers in Windsor.
Austin Kennedy and the Lancers.
Austin Kennedy and that amazingly awesome offense should get the job done. So, Matt, that's gonna basically draw us to a close here. Remember, if you have any questions for us, you can get at us at Twitter with @firstand10FB.
Definitely.
And I know you want to thank some people.
Shout out to Jamie Howison and Andrew Aberdeen. Thank you for all of this great Laurier gear. We really appreciate it.
Definitely helps dress up the set.
Yes.
More so than this guy. That's it for this week. For Matt, I'm your host, Jason Hagholm. Peace out and enjoy some good football.